Most men are focused on being good in bed. Few ever think about being unforgettable. But what if I told you that the difference between being good and being memorable doesn't lie in your technique, but in your presence, your intention, your emotional intelligence? When you stop aiming for approval and start aiming for connection, everything changes. Because a woman's body remembers energy, not just movement. She remembers how she felt in your presence. Was she safe? Was she seen? Was she surrendered? Or was she just another checkpoint in your performance? To make her body remember you, it's not about mastering 10 different sex positions. It's about understanding 10 different ways to emotionally and physically meet her. It's about showing up differently each time based on what the moment calls for. One style is reverent sex, where you approach her like sacred ground. Your hands don't grope, they listen. Your mouth doesn't take, it worships. In this space, her body doesn't just open, it melts. Then there's playful sex, the kind that wakes up the inner child. The teasing, the laughter, the giggles between kisses. This is what removes pressure and invites pleasure. She'll never forget how light you made her feel. Most people rush toward action. They want the tips, the tricks, the how to guide. Especially when it comes to intimacy, the first instinct is to ask, what do I do to be better in bed? It's a natural question, but also the wrong starting point. Because how means nothing if you don't understand why. The most unforgettable experiences aren't created through a list of techniques. They're born from intention, from the depth of presence you bring, from the reason behind your touch. When you start with why, you begin with meaning. You move from performance to purpose. You stop aiming for validation and start aiming for impact. Why are you touching her? Why are you kissing her that way? Why are you even in this moment with her? When you connect to that question, your actions take on weight. You're no longer just doing, you're transmitting. And what you transmit is what she feels. Not on the surface of her skin, but in the depth of her nervous system. Every woman's body is wired to pick up on energy. You can fake confidence. You can learn techniques. But you can't fake intention. If you're trying to impress her, she'll sense it. If you're seeking her approval, she'll feel that. But if your presence says, I'm here because I want to connect with you. I want to awaken you. I want to make you feel safe, seen, devoured, honored. Now you're not just touching her body. You're touching something timeless inside her. And that's the kind of memory that lingers. When your why is connection, every movement becomes meaningful. Eye contact isn't just a formality. It's a way of anchoring her into the present moment. Kissing isn't a warm-up. It's a sacred act. Your pace, your rhythm, your breath. Everything aligns because it's not driven by desperation. It's driven by devotion. That's what women remember. Not what you did, but how it felt to be wanted by you. Without a why, sex becomes mechanical. It becomes something you do ivsu, her, instead of something you create ze with her. You could have all the right moves, the perfect rhythm, the stamina of an Olympian, and still leave her feeling untouched. Because when your actions are empty of meaning, they don't register in her emotional memory. The body forgets techniques, but it holds on tightly to intention. Starting with why also changes your experience. You stop chasing orgasm as a finish line. You stop measuring success by how long it lasted or how loud she got. Instead, you start noticing the little things. Her breath hitching, her body softening, her eyes dilating. You become more attuned, more grounded, more intuitive. And suddenly, you're not just someone she slept with. You're someone she felt deeply, fully, completely. Think of it like music. You can play all the right notes, but without emotion, it's just noise. But when a musician pours their soul into it, when they mean every note, it becomes unforgettable. Sex is the same. It's not about the choreography. It's about the energy behind it. It's about why you're even playing in the first place. So before you try to master 10 new sex styles or memorize a list of seductive tricks, ask yourself, why am I here? What do I want her to feel? What do I want to give her? Not take from her. When your why is clear, your touch becomes art. Your presence becomes medicine. And your memory becomes something her body never forgets. The body is not a machine with fixed instructions. It's not a checklist of buttons to press or levers to pull. It's a storybook, living, breathing, evolving, filled with unspoken history, desires, fears, longings, and memories. When you approach a woman's body like a manual, you miss the essence of who she is. You reduce her to function. But when you see her as a story to be read, discovered, and honored, your touch takes on depth. You're no longer just trying to do it right. You're trying to understand her, and that shift changes everything. Every woman's body carries a narrative. Some chapters are written in joy, some in trauma, some in trust, others in betrayal. When you assume you know what she likes because it worked with someone else, you're skipping pages in her story. You're trying to shortcut intimacy. But the truth is, each body has its own language. Each response is a sentence. Each reaction is a clue, and it takes curiosity, not arrogance, to truly read it. Too often, men are conditioned to believe that sex is about technique. Learn the tricks, follow the steps, deliver the result. But this mechanical mindset turns intimacy into performance. It puts pressure on both people. It treats her pleasure as a goal to achieve, not an experience to explore. And when something doesn't go as expected, when her body doesn't respond the way the manual promised, frustration builds, insecurity creeps in, connection is lost. But when you approach her like a storybook, you stop expecting and start discovering. You ask with your hands. You listen with your breath. You observe how her body reacts to slowness, to stillness, to depth. You notice what softens her and what makes her retreat. You're not looking for the fastest road to climax. You're reading her with reverence. You're learning the poetry of her body line by line. The beauty of this approach is that it creates space for her to unfold without pressure, space for you to connect without needing to perform. In this space, she feels seen, not just sexually, but emotionally. And when a woman feels seen, her body opens in ways that no technique can force. Her desire doesn't just rise, it expands. Her pleasure doesn't just spike, it deepens. Every scar, every sigh, every curve of her body tells a story. Some stories need tenderness, some need boldness, some need silence, some need laughter. And it's not about you knowing all the answers. It's about being willing to ask, being willing to slow down, being willing to feel instead of fix. This is where true intimacy lives, not in what you do to her, but in how you respond to her, not in the memorized techniques, but in the real-time attunement. When you touch her like she's a story worth reading, not a device to operate, you communicate something rare: patience, presence, and profound respect. And that's what leaves an imprint. Over time, as you turn the pages of her body with care, you'll begin to notice how much is revealed in the quiet, in the pauses, in the moments that don't look sexy, but feel deeply human. That's where the magic is. That's where memory is created. Because a body that feels understood becomes a body that remembers. And no manual, no matter how detailed, can ever teach you that. So stop trying to get it right. Start trying to feel what's real. Let her body teach you its story. Let your touch be curious, not controlling. Let your presence be the safe place where her story can unfold. Because when you read her like a storybook, you don't just touch her. You understand her. And that's what she'll never forget. Sex isn't powerful because of the positions you choose or the styles you perform. It's powerful because of the energy behind them. Two people can do the exact same thing, the same rhythm, the same movements, the same techniques, and only one of them will leave a mark. The difference isn't skill. The difference is soul, because it's not the style that stays with her. It's the feeling behind it. It's the emotional current underneath the action. That's what her body remembers. You can dominate her with cold detachment or with warm, grounded certainty. You can make love to her with performance or with presence. The same physical gesture can land 1,000 different ways depending on the emotional charge behind it. It's not about being rough or soft, fast or slow. It's about why you're doing it in the first place. Are you trying to prove something? Are you trying to impress her? Or are you trying to connect, to awaken, to honor her in that moment? So many people get caught up in trying to do it right. They study the moves, they watch the tutorials, they chase the trends. But they forget the most important truth: sex is felt more in the nervous system than in the body. And the nervous system responds to energy, not technique, not repetition, not strategy. What she will remember is not the sequence of your touch, but the depth of your presence. Soul is the thing you bring that no one else can copy. It's the part of you that isn't pretending. It's not filtered through porn or past lovers or the need to perform. It's the raw, honest, emotionally available version of you, the one that isn't afraid to feel, to reveal, to connect. That's what makes any sexual experience unforgettable, because that's what creates emotional texture. And emotion is what etches memory into the body. You could learn 10 styles of sex and still leave her feeling hollow if you're not emotionally present. You could touch her perfectly and still miss her completely if your mind is elsewhere. Because she doesn't just want your body. She wants your intention. She wants to feel your desire, not just in your hands, but in your energy. She wants to feel that you are with her, not just on her. That your focus isn't scattered. That you're not just following a plan, you're feeling her moment by moment. Think of how it feels when someone hugs you with meaning versus when someone hugs you out of obligation. It's the same motion. But one sinks into your soul. That's the difference between style and substance. Soul is what turns sex into something sacred, into something memorable, into something that lingers in her skin long after the moment ends. So instead of asking, what should I do next? Ask, what do I feel right now? Instead of trying to switch positions, try deepening the one you're already in. Breathe with her. Look at her. Let your heartbeat speak. Let your hands carry your honesty. Let your stillness communicate just as much as your motion. When the soul leads, the body follows. And when the soul leads, her body receives you. Not just physically, but emotionally. She may not remember every style you try. She may not remember what night it happened or what music was playing. But she will remember the way you made her feel. She'll remember the safety in your arms, the hunger in your eyes, the warmth in your chest. She'll remember the soul behind the sex. And that's what makes it unforgettable. That's what leaves a mark. Before pleasure, there must be safety. Before a woman's body can open, her nervous system has to soften. You cannot create true, lasting sensation until she feels secure, physically, emotionally, and energetically. Without safety, her body won't fully surrender. She might go through the motions. She might even respond on the surface, but deep, visceral pleasure, the kind that imprints itself into her memory, requires her to let go. And letting go only happens when she trusts you. Too many people try to skip straight to arousal. They focus on stimulation, intensity, climax. They think more friction means more pleasure. But her body isn't a switch. It's a landscape. It opens slowly in response to care, attention, and presence. If she senses that your desire is disconnected from her emotional state, her body will tighten. Even if she doesn't say it. Even if she smiles or plays along. The feminine body is intuitive. It knows when it's being touched with care and when it's being used for validation or release. Safety isn't just about being gentle. It's about being attuned. It's about listening before touching. Reading her breath, her body language, her subtle cues. Safety means letting her know, through your energy, not just your words, that there is no rush, that she doesn't need to perform, that she can unfold at her own pace. It's the space you create when your presence says, I'm here with you, not just for what I can get from you. You create safety when your touch is patient, not demanding. When your gaze sees her, not scans her. When your breath matches hers and grounds the room, safety lives in the details. The moment you pause to check in with your eyes, the way you cradle her head, the slowness of your kiss, these are the signals that tell her nervous system, you are safe here. You don't have to brace. You can let go. When she feels safe, her body responds in ways no technique can force. Her breath deepens. Her skin becomes more sensitive. Her pleasure becomes layered, not just physical but emotional. That's when you access the kind of intimacy that rewires her, not because of what you did, but because of how you made her feel while doing it. The safety you create becomes the foundation for the intensity you want to experience. Some think safety kills the spark, that it's soft, boring, or non-sexual. But that's a misunderstanding. Safety doesn't take away eroticism. It's what allows it to ignite fully. When a woman feels emotionally safe, she becomes more uninhibited, not less. Her rawness, her animal, her desire, all of it awakens once she knows she won't be judged, shamed, or rushed. What looks like wildness on the outside is always rooted in trust on the inside. Creating safety also means showing up with emotional consistency. You don't disappear after intimacy. You don't punish her vulnerability with silence. You become the person she knows she can land in. Not just in bed, but in the hours and days after. That continuity deepens her trust. And the deeper her trust, the deeper her pleasure. If you want to create unforgettable sensation, don't start by focusing on what turns her on. Start by understanding what helps her feel safe. Build that. Be that. Let your presence be the container where she can unravel, where she can stop holding it together, where her body can shift from guarding to glowing. That shift is everything. Because when you create safety, she doesn't just give you access to her body, she invites you into her deeper world. And when she does, her pleasure becomes more than physical. It becomes emotional, spiritual, unshakable. That's the kind of intimacy that stays with her, not because you were skilled, but because you made her feel so safer. She didn't have to hide. The moment you stop performing is the moment she starts feeling you. Real connection doesn't happen when you're trying to impress. It happens when you're willing to be fully present. Performance is rooted in fear. It's driven by questions like, am I doing this right? Or does she like me? It creates pressure. It divides your attention. It keeps you in your head and out of the moment. And when you're in your head, you're not with her. You're managing an image. You're chasing an outcome. You're performing instead of connecting. The truth is, a woman can feel when you're disconnected. Even if your moves are perfect, even if your timing is flawless. There's a subtle tension in your body when you're trying too hard. There's a kind of overreaching in your touch. It feels like something is missing, even when everything looks right. Because presence isn't about how good you are. It's about how available you are. How deeply you're attuned to her. How open you are to the truth of the moment. When you perform, you're often trying to earn something, her approval, her orgasm, her affection. But when you're truly present, you're not trying to earn, you're offering. You're not seeking validation, you're creating connection. Your attention isn't split between what's happening and what you think should be happening. It's rooted in what is. And that kind of presence is rare. That's what makes it unforgettable. The feminine body doesn't respond to perfection. It responds to truth, to sincerity, to depth. When you stop trying to be the best she's ever had and instead focus on being the most real she's ever felt, everything changes. Suddenly, you're not performing a role. You're showing her who you are. You're not trying to win her body. You're meeting her in a space that honors both of you. That shift, subtle as it may seem, lands differently in her nervous system. It creates trust, it invites openness, it awakens intimacy. To stop performing, you have to be willing to be vulnerable, to not know, to listen, to make mistakes without shutting down, to stay when it gets quiet or intense. That's not weakness, that's courage, that's leadership. And that's what makes a woman feel safe to drop her guard. Because when you're real, she can relax. She doesn't have to entertain you, please you, or keep up with you. She can just be. And in that space, her true desire begins to surface. The irony is, when you stop trying to be impressive, you become magnetic. When you stop trying to make it happen, it flows. The more permission you give yourself to be present, the more permission she feels to be fully expressed. Because presence is contagious. If you're in your head, she goes into hers. If you're in your body, she comes into hers. And that's where the magic lies. You don't need to do 1,000 things right, you just need to be here. With your full attention, with your breath. With your heart open, not guarded. With your desire clean, not manipulative. Let go of the idea that you need to be perfect. Let go of the idea that pleasure is a performance. Let it become a conversation, a dance, a shared unfolding. Because when you stop performing, something far more powerful emerges intimacy. The kind that doesn't need words. The kind that doesn't need an audience. The kind that speaks through breath and touch and stillness. The kind that lingers. Not because you tried hard, but because you were real. And in a world full of performers, being real is what you'll remember. Presence is the most erotic skill you can master. Not charm, not confidence, not technique. Presence. The ability to be fully, unmistakably here with someone without distraction, without pretense, without agenda. It's what every woman feels before you touch her, and it's what lingers long after the moment is over. Presence is what turns ordinary gestures into sacred ones. It's what separates forgettable encounters from the kind her body remembers. You don't have to say the perfect words or know the perfect moves when you're truly present. Because when you're really there, emotionally, mentally, energetically, everything you do becomes charged with awareness. Your eye contact isn't just visual, it's a connection. Your hands don't just move, they listen. Your breath doesn't just fill the room, it sets the tone. Presence creates atmosphere, and atmosphere creates arousal. Without it, even the most passionate sex feels mechanical. With it, the simplest touch can feel transcendent. Presence is rare because it requires stillness. It demands that you quiet the noise in your head, the expectations, the fears, the to-do list of what sex is supposed to look like. It asks you to stop trying to be somewhere else and bring your full attention to what's happening right now. The softness in her breath, the change in her rhythm, the tension in her shoulders. These aren't small details, they're the music of her body. But you can't hear that music if you're not paying attention. When you're present, you're not trying to perform, you're not chasing a result, you're not fast forwarding to the finish line. You're responding in real time. You're reading her, feeling her, adjusting with her. This kind of responsiveness is what builds trust. It's what allows her to relax, to surrender, to open in ways she can't when she feels unseen or rushed. Because true presence tells her, you matter. I'm with you. You, not the fantasy of you, not the performance of you, but the real, breathing, emotional you. You don't need to overwhelm her with intensity. Presence turns even the subtlest interaction to something erotic. A slow inhale while holding eye contact. A pause before a kiss. A fingertip tracing her arm with intention, not habit. When you're present, every action has weight. Every movement has meaning. You're not just doing, you're feeling. And she feels that. Her body responds to it in ways you can't force with physicality alone. What makes presence erotic is that it's deeply personal. It says, I see you. I'm not distracted. I'm not somewhere else. I'm here with you for this. And when a woman feels that, her guard drops. Her body becomes more responsive, more alive. She doesn't have to perform either. She's free to feel, to express, to explore without shame or fear. That mutual safety, built from your presence, is what creates the most powerful intimacy. Presence also means being with yourself, not abandoning your own sensations, not suppressing your vulnerability, not pretending to be in control when you're not. When you're grounded in your own body, your own breath, your own truth, you create a space that feels safe and electric at the same time. You radiate something that can't be faked. And in that space, real passion is born. Not the flashy, performative kind, but the kind that moves people, that imprints on them. If you want to be unforgettable, don't memorize lines or master moves. Master your attention. Master your ability to be still, to be curious, to be open. Practice showing up without your mask. Because when you're fully present, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to feel. She'll feel it. Her body will know. And long after the moment has passed, that presence, your presence, is what she'll crave again.